Hi, hello, my name is Lottie, and I'm sorry about the dark lighting. It's very late at night, but I felt it was important to cover this whilst it was quite fresh in my head. So, in a previous video, there was a comment left, and that comment raised some important questions that I want to cover now. Now, it was in relation to the digital ID, and whether or not it was going to become something more, something quite dark, and that would be the mark of the beast. Now, I've came to a few conclusions after, as I said, these questions had occurred to me too, and I want to share those conclusions. But firstly, I want to show how I came to those conclusions, because the truth is, you might come to completely different ones. And I'm no teacher. I'm not claiming to be the font of all knowledge. So, let's get into that. Now, the best place to start, as always, is back with the scriptures. So that's where we'll begin. And that is in Revelations 13, verses 11 through to 18. So 11 through to the end of the chapter. And it reads, "And then I saw a second beast, coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs, it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands and on their foreheads, so that they could not buy nor sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and that number is 666. Now, the reason that I wanted to read that scripture first is because it tells us a lot of important things. It tells us that the mark itself will be on the hand or the forehead, or both. It also says that the people who have that mark will also worship the beast. Now, there is some speculation as to whether or not this mark would be symbolic or physical. I personally think physical. I think that's why God makes sure that it's mentioned more than once. If you go back to Revelation 14, verse 9, it says, "A third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, 'If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury.'" This is life or death. This is the decision that you have to make. You will have to pick between worshipping the beast or worshipping God. And if you choose worshipping God, things will be tough. Again, I don't think the mark will be symbolic because of how important it is. God wouldn't allow it to be ambiguous, vague. He'd want it to be obvious. He would not allow us to be tricked into this. It will be a choice to be made. When we become Christian, as I said, we already know that things will be tough. Christ warns us that if we choose to follow after him, we will pick up our own cross to bear. And if we're unlucky enough to live in the end times, then, well, things are going to be really bad. We might not make it out alive. So, there are mentions of marks throughout the scriptures, some symbolic and some physical. Now, the one that I think is most relatable is probably the sign of protection in Ezekiel. So, Ezekiel 9, 4-6. Before Jerusalem is destroyed, an angel is commanded to put a mark, the Hebrew letter Tor, on the foreheads of the righteous people who are grieving over the city's abominations. That mark is to identify them so that they may be spared the coming judgment. Judgment, something that we're literally talking about, the very final judgment. And this is important, hence why I don't think that it will be vague in any way, shape, or form. It will be a very obvious thing. Here's the problem that we face. If the digital ID is going to be the mark of the beast, then no matter what we do to fight against it, and although I think we should keep fighting regardless, we won't be able to stop it. It's preordained, it's predestined, we're told about it. It will happen. And we, as Christians, have to accept that if we choose God, times will be tough. And that leads us then to what we do next. If that's the case, well, we help each other and we keep going. We don't give up. We continue to be loyal and faithful to our God. The scripture before that one about the beast, the very last sentence, says this calls for patience and endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. And I don't think that those words have ever been truer than now or when this takes place. Earlier scriptures say that this beast will blaspheme God, will slander his name, and will slander his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. This is an obvious enemy of God's. Not something hidden, not something symbolic, but something very obvious. There will be no equivocation. It will be certain. So, there were other points that you made in your comment, and I just want to read through them very quickly before I answer them too. So, let's do that now. So, the other question you had was in regards to the freedom of religion laws that we have in the UK. Very specifically, the Equality Act 2010, which prohibits discrimination based on religion or belief, and the Human Rights Act of 1998, Article 9, which is supposed to protect freedom of religion, thought and conscience. Now, the totality of these laws are supposed to prevent discrimination in areas such as work. Now, could we use those to stop us from being forced to have digital ID? I think technically yes. I'd like to see someone who's much more adept at the law go through that, because legal stuff is not really my thing, but I don't see why we couldn't. But as much as I want to believe that these laws would protect us, I've got a feeling that the government would label us conspiracy theorists and religious hardliners if we were to say that this digital ID is or could be used like the mark of the beast. Now, we've got every reason to be concerned because the government never really acts on our behalf, do they? And if anyone is going to lead us straight into the end times, it would be them. That said, again, that doesn't mean that I don't think we shouldn't fight against this. I just think we need to know what may happen to us if we do. So, if you look at other countries, one of the countries that has been fighting back against biometric IDs is Vietnam, and they have deactivated over 86 million accounts that refuse to become verified. 86 million. I mean, it's not the only one. The Canadian government did something similar with freezing accounts when they had the truckers protest thing. I would love to think that we could make our country's laws work for us, but I've got this funny feeling that they would use them more against us, as we're seeing with freedom of speech in regards to hurty words online, that kind of thing. I will make a separate video in regards to what you can do to try and stop this. I think I need to give it a lot more thought. There is one thing you can do in the meantime, and that is to hop on to the Mass Non-Compliance website. Just type in Mass Non-Compliance website and it'll come up. These are the people who organised that protest in London back on the 18th, and they're very good at what they do. There's also links to their social media accounts, and they keep it updated. There's a lot of good facts and figures coming out, which should hopefully back us up in the future, which is some good news. I try to be as optimistic as possible, although I will refuse this outright, no matter what the hardships are, and I'm kind of expecting them. I'm not hopeful that we're going to get everybody to resist this, although I'm hoping we will. Oh, there's also a resist guide on there as well, which gives some good advice. It's called Resist the Surveillance State, 100 Ways to Fight Digital ID. The first one is Wake Up and Act. And yeah, it's a good start. And it's the reason why I started making videos about this. I used to just make videos on my animals. But it doesn't seem important anymore. So I hope this answers your questions. If it doesn't and you have any more, please comment, because I'm only too happy to try and help answer it, or at least feel like I might be there with you. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to go because I am knackered. I really need to get some sleep. So I love you all. Take care. And I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. I just wanted to add this in there quickly because I saw there was an updated comment, and I really want to answer as much as possible. So before I go to bed, it says, why is nobody doing anything about this? Why are the Christian groups ignoring it? Well, I don't think it's because this hasn't crossed their mind. I think that they're just too afraid to say anything aloud. I think they're afraid of being called crazy or being called the conspiracy theorist, because if you look at how Christianity has been treated over the past few years, it's not been good. It really hasn't. We've been very sidelined and, sidelined for other religions, especially at the moment. So yeah, that's my reason why I think they're not doing it. I think that they will eventually. I just think that by the time that they get their butts in gear, it'll be too late. So yeah, night.